Hey everyone, today I'm studying Psalm number 29, and this is the book. And this is an amazing psalm because it's only 11 verses, but the name of God, the Tetragrammaton, appears in this psalm 18 times, and that's very significant compared to the other psalms. And this psalm is also read by Jews all over the world every Friday night. It's part of our Kabbalat Shabbat, our welcoming in of the Sabbath on Friday night. And it's a beautiful psalm. It has a really nice melody that Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach made it into like a song. So I'm going to jump into a couple of the verses, starting with verse 5. It says, "The voice of God breaks cedars. God shatters the cedars of Lebanon." So the meaning or interpretation behind this, the commentary says that in the future, God will break the cedars, which is a metaphor for powerful people who are the enemies of God. The psalmist, meaning King David, uses the example of the Lebanon cedars, which are particularly tall. So during the giving of the Ten Commandments in Sinai, the Israelites heard God's voice and were enlivened by it. But the other nations heard God's voice and were struck with fright. It was as if their souls had departed. During the giving of the Ten Commandments, God's voice split into 70 voices and languages, and each nation heard the Torah or the Ten Commandments in their own language. That's a very interesting insight because I never heard that before about the other nations also hearing God's voice in their own language. And it's interesting because the first two commandments are, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall have no other gods before me. So those two commandments are not really relevant to other nations. But here's some more information about that. So during the giving of the Ten Commandments, a loud noise was heard throughout the entire world. All the kings were seized by fear and came to Balaam. He was a wicked prophet. And they asked him about this noise. They were fearing that God was bringing another flood or some other destruction to the world. So Balaam replied, God is giving his precious Torah to his children, the Israelites. And then this is the verse from this psalm. God will give strength, meaning the commandments, to his people, to which the kings responded, God will bless his people with peace. All right, a couple more verses and we'll wrap this one up. So verse 7 of Psalm 29, the voice of God strikes flames of fire. So during the giving of the Ten Commandments, God's voice emerged as flames, which were then engraved upon the tablets. In the future, God's anger will strike his enemies and destroy them like lightning that pierces through thunder. All right, and I think, the last one that I want to share is verse 10, and it says, God sat as king at the flood. God will sit as king forever. So when those who dismissed God were destroyed in the flood, because it was a time of people being non-believers, the survivors, Noah and his relatives, and their descendants recognized God's kingship, that God created the world and can destroy it at will. Similarly, in the days of the Messiah, which is supposed to be coming soon, the Messianic age, the nations who persecuted the Jewish people and did not recognize God as master of the universe will be judged. This will lead the Jewish people and the nations that return to God to know and proclaim that just as God sat as king at the flood, God will now sit as king forever. As the prophet declares in Zechariah chapter 14, verse 9, in the days of the Messiah, quote, God will be king upon all the earth. On that day, God will be one and his name will be one. So it's interesting because even the Tetragrammaton, which is 4 Hebrew letters, it's the holiest name of God, different nations have taken it upon themselves to try to pronounce that holy name. And their pronunciations vary from Jehovah to Yahweh, but all these pronunciations are incorrect. And it says here that when the Messiah comes, on that day, God will be one and his name will be one. So we'll all know the correct way to pronounce the tetragrammaton, the yud and the hey and the vav and the hey. This name is so holy and so powerful that we don't even utter it when we come across it in prayer. So in this prayer in Psalm 29, it's written 18 times, but when we come across it, we don't say that name, we say Adonai, which means my master. So let's see what actionables we have here. Let's see. I guess it's to praise God and have faith that the day is coming when we're gonna all be living in a peaceful reality. So hope and pray and have faith that peace is coming. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.